Senator Runner's here. Welcome, Senator. Senator Runner has item 4 on our agenda, and this is a bill related to the California Transportation Commission. And this is SB X112, right?
Yes.
And Senator, we've been working with your office on some amendments, and my understanding is those
Yes, I'm taking those as author amendments, yes.
Okay.
Good morning, and I do want to thank especially Aaron Riches for working with us on those amendments. It's not my first bill, so I won't be as long, I guess, as the last bill. So hopefully I have support on both sides. Not that that's, I've been sitting a while. It's okay, I need to stand up. Anyway, the amendments actually clarify that Caltrans will continue to develop the State Highway Operation and Protection Program and submit it to the California Transportation Commission, as well as authorize the CTC to reject individual projects within the plan. As amended, the bill would simply return independence to the California Transportation Commission, provided with broader authority to oversee the implementation of the State Highway Operation and Protection Program, or SHOP, for those on the Transportation Committee who are familiar with SHOP. As the committee analysis notes, prior to the governor's reorganization in 2012, the CTC operated independently. However, since its consolidations, questions regarding oversight have persisted as the CTC is precluded from evaluating individual projects. As a result, in the 2014-15 budget, Capital Outlay Support Program review, the LAO recommended the legislature require the CTC to allocate funds for each phase of a SHOP project, including capital outlay support resources, which would provide increased oversight and accountability. In addition, Caltrans' own management consultant, the State Smart Transportation Initiative, SSTI, found that Caltrans has not been as efficient and has since set up several working groups, one considering providing the CTC with the ability to approve projects, as this bill is attempting to enact. SB X112 is supported by the Victor Valley Transportation Agency in my district, and I would ask for your support.
Thank you, Senator. And I want to say that with those amendments, I recommend in favor of the bill. It's a wise investment that we can make. I want to call for supporters. Anybody would like to speak in favor? Oppose? Welcome.
Mr. Chair, members, Steve Baker with Aaron Reed & Associates, representing the professional engineers in California government. We'd like to thank Senator Runner and the committee for the amendments, and with the amendments, we'll remove our opposition.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions? We'll call the roll on this motion.
Okay, ask for an aye vote.
The motion is due pass as amended and refer to the Committee on Appropriations. Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Cannella? Allen? Bates? Aye. Bates, aye. Berryhill? Berryhill, aye. Gaines? Gaines, aye. Hertzberg? Leyva? Leyva, aye. Liu? Liu, aye. McGuire? Mendoza? Aye. Mendoza, aye. Pavley? Wajkowski?
Aye.
Wajkowski? Wajkowski, aye. Allen, aye.
The vote is 9-0, Senator. We'll leave the roll open for other members who are absent to vote.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Senator Huff. Would you like to present my bill? Okay. Let Senator Huff come. We got to get out of here by 1:30. Help. Good luck. Get out of here.
How many?
We only have Jim's bill and Huff's bill. We should be done.
There he is. There it is. Oh, up his hair.
That's what we call perfect timing.
Saved by the bell.
Okay, Bob. Yours could take a long time. That was great. Okay. So we're going to turn the floor over to Senator Huff. He will present Senate Constitution Amendment, Special Session 1, Constitution Amendment 1. Bob, you have the floor. Excuse me. Senator
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Californians pay billions of dollars in taxes for the privilege of driving on our roads. Yet we're here today because we all understand California's roads are in terrible shape. There have been 2 recent attempts to dedicate transportation funding for transportation purposes. Prop 42 dedicated the sales tax and gasoline for transportation in 2002. This passed with 69% of the vote. Proposition 22 in 2010 prohibited borrowing transportation funds and prohibited the state from diverting excise taxes, gasoline and diesel taxes, to the state general fund to pay debt services. This passed with 61% of the vote. Unfortunately, both of these measures left loopholes that allow the state to direct other transportation money to the general fund. Specifically, weight fees, vehicle registration fees, and vehicle licensing fees increases were left out of the protection offered in Proposition 22. Additionally, new taxes being contemplated, such as the road user charges, which Speaker Atkins is proposing, and fair share plans, such as a zero emissions vehicle road charge, may also not be protected. To date, $5 billion in transportation funding have been sent to the general fund. So before we discuss new revenues, we should keep in mind the covenant we made with the voters to use taxes for transportation purposes. SCAX 1.1 would constitutionally guarantee that all existing transportation taxes are spent on transportation projects. The weight fees would be returned to transportation. Future increases could only be used for construction, maintenance, and improvements to transportation infrastructure. California drivers have paid their share and have earned the right to know that their investment is being dedicated to maintaining our roads and streets. At a minimum, this bill would invest $1 billion a year in our ailing infrastructure. I would ask for your aye vote.
Okay. Discussion in favor, please. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Jack Aginian. I'm the mayor of the city of Montebello and chairman of the board of the Alameda Corridor East Construction Authority, ACE for short.
Right.
I'm here to express our strong support for Senate Constitutional Amendment 1X and our appreciation to Senator Huff for proposing this important reform measure. Motorists must be assured that fees paid at the pump or to the DMV are spent on the roads, highways, and bridges that those motorists will use, especially as the legislature and governor consider enacting new or increased fees to support our network of roadways. We thank Senator Huff for his leadership and urge your aye vote on SCA 1X.
Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members, Billy Doring, representing the California motorcycle industry. We're representing the recreational off-highway, and on behalf of our friends, the California Off-Road Vehicle Association, we're very much in support. We feel the bill does what it's supposed to do, and that's keep the money where it is from those people that use it and pay for it. And my compliments to the consultants, because that was no easy task going back that far to check out the history of it, and so it was well done, and we appreciate it and ask for your support.
Good morning, members. David Wolf with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We're in support of the bill. Members, when you have a $58 billion transportation maintenance backlog and you're trying diligently not to raise taxes, and when you have, with cap and trade funding, perhaps some of the highest gas taxes in the nation already, it is imperative that as many dollars as possible, transportation gas dollars, go into repairing and refurbishing and maintaining our roads. This bill does that. Ask for your aye vote.
Chris Lee on behalf of the California State Association of Counties. We have a support and concept position on this constitutional amendment. We support protecting any revenues that are raised specifically for transportation purposes to ensure that they're not diverted. But we have to recall that VLF is essentially an in lieu tax in lieu of taxing vehicles as personal property, and personal property taxes have traditionally been used for a broad array of other general government services, including some that counties provide. So we want to be careful that we don't foreclose the option of using VLF in the future for general government purposes that are beyond transportation, but we do in general support protecting transportation revenues.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members, Mike Knutson here on behalf of the Automobile Club of Southern California. We feel strongly that if it comes from a transportation source, it should be used for transportation, and we support the bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Chris Rosa, representing the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, in support.
Good morning, Chair and members. Lynette Childs with the Urban Counties Caucus in support of this measure.
Todd Blumstein for the Southern California Contractors Association, support.
Mr. Chairman, members, Mark Watts with Transportation California in support of this measure, and thanks for the author for taking this on.
Chairman, members. Mr. Chairman, members, Jose Mejia with the California State Council of Labor in support of the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members, Mike Carpenter on behalf of AAA of Northern California, Nevada, and Utah in support of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Moira Top on behalf of Orange County Business Council in support.
Mr. Chair, Tamika representing Southern California Association of Governments in support.
Okay.
All good.
Is that all? Okay, speakers opposed. Other speakers? Anybody coming? Okay.
Catherine Phillips with Sierra Club, California. Our greatest concern here is that the additional restrictions on the flexibility of spending could end up allowing this money to be used exclusively for new lanes, new roadways, that sort of thing, and further restrict the ability to use transportation funds on transit and other modes of transportation that we may not even predict now that would help reduce greenhouse gas emissions and other pollution. So we respectfully oppose this bill.
Okay, let's have a discussion. A question for Senator Huffs, Senator Wachowski, Senator Berryhill.
The county brings up this the point that the vehicle license fee is really not a transportation, it's a personal property tax. And why should this be lumped into this protective scheme for only using monies for transportation? It should be a general fund item.
Well, the vehicle license fee has gone back into the 1930s, as I believe.
1931, I believe.
Yeah, so as a luxury tax, property tax at a time to pay government, and over the years it's had some different interesting treatments, particularly during the triple flip and all of that stuff. But I think the general feeling was, certainly in authoring this, I wanted to make sure that things are paid by transportation users, be used for transportation purposes. Just because something in the past has been used for something doesn't mean the voters might not prefer to dedicate it to transportation, particularly when we're identifying at a minimum $59 billion of unfunded repairs on our roads. And if you look at some of the other counties and local governments, they start adding it much higher than that.
I think it's the straitjacket parallel where you say, you know, now if you were suggesting to raise the vehicle license fee back up to the 2% that it was in 1931, that's a different, you know, before we got into the political discussion. But even at that time, you had the flexibility for the Senate and for the Assembly to determine how that personal property tax would be divvied up. This constitutional amendment seems, as if I'm reading it, any increase would have to be allocated for, you know, roads. And I think that's the opposition's concern.
Well, and as a legislator, I could see that you would want to keep flexibility. As somebody representing taxpayers and letting the taxpayers vote on this, I would expect them to weigh in and say that they probably don't want to see flexibility. We got into an underfunded position because if you look back at our budget increases since the Great Recession, and we have grown, we are now at $115 billion. If you put in realignment, it's like $122 billion apples to apples. $103 billion was prior to, that was 7-8, our highest watermark in the budget. As we have grown this back, Health and Human Services tops the chart at over $17 billion, transportation $1.9 billion. So it's the lowest of all the categories in the budget of where our growth has gone, and the people are frustrated. I give the governor credit for outlining this in his January speech, that we need to do something about it. I'm proposing something that Yes, it puts a straitjacket on new revenues, but I believe that people are with us, and in fact, we don't have enough revenues right now for even the infrastructure that we have.
It's curious if we hadn't done anything, if Governor Davis and when Governor Schwarzenegger invented the car tax and created all this political hoo-la-la, that we would have been having, we would have kept it at 2%, and the vehicle license fee would be generating $4 billion a year at 2%. It was never a problem during the Great War, during Korea, during Vietnam. Nobody ever talked about it. So I don't know if the straitjacket is the right correction, because I guess it's not before us that we'd raise it to 2% or restore it to 2%. So.
Well, just entering the discussion, I want to make it clear there's currently, I don't believe, any special session bill that uses the vehicle license fee. Is that correct? Yeah. So I just want to make it clear. And I think Senator Huff introduced his amendment, or his constitutional amendment, based on me introducing SB 16 during the regular session. SB 16 did use the vehicle license fee, but it kind of created such a hullabaloo, Senator, that I introduced the special session bill without the vehicle license fee. As a result of, talking, I had a discussion with Senator Haas, Senator Cannella, other people. So I said, well, okay, I'm not going to go there anymore. And so they convinced me, basically, that we should only look at those fees that are covered under what we call Article 19, Section 2 and 3 of the Constitution of California, which protects the money. Now, Senator Huff has a bill here that deals with the vehicle license fee, but also it puts restrictions on the new money. And I want to say this, Senator, we're going in the right direction. We're going to get this. I think I would like to see the financing, if I propose some financing that everybody could accept, I would like to see it constitutionally protected. I'll say that right up front. And I'll be willing to work with you on this constitutional amendment to make sure that happens.
Appreciate that.
Okay? And Senator Huff has my pledge that I'll do that. Because I believe if we go to the voters with a constitutional amendment that protects any and all revenue, that would be approved, I would think, right?
It has much higher.
Yeah, I think so. Approved. So, but I want to also say that none of the proposed measures that I have financing the road repairs, my bill deals with road repairs, actually they're consistent with Senator Huff's constitutional amendment, but also consistent with the current Constitution, Article 19. Okay, so it looks like things are starting to come together here. Now the vehicle license fee is not included in any proposal I made. It was included in that original bill, SB 16. No, I'm not making it. I'll say right now, I'm not interested in the vehicle license fee. Okay. I'm not. I think that's why I just said to Senator Huff, I'm not. The proposal we have now is not including vehicle license fee. Not interested. If somebody else wants to propose it, we'll have another bill. It won't be by Jim Bell. So, Senator Hertzberg, you have some comments?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple of observations. You know, I again think in the big picture that I'm just so concerned. I don't doubt what the chairman says is 100% accurate with respect to the ability to get things passed. And I know we have to weigh the practical against the bigger picture thing. I get that. But man, I'm telling you, I look at what we've done in all of these kinds of constraining ourselves, and I think it is fair to say that if you know, back when John Dutra was around, we had a bunch of extra money on sales tax on gasoline because the price of gasolines went up, and so we created a proposition with the people passed and says sales tax on gasolines have to go towards roads, right? We've seen the interrelationship with Measure 2, with Prop 2, with 98, and what the challenges it faced, what the LAO said. Example after example, and it just concerns me in the big picture about these kinds of restrictions, indeed, maybe the voters will pass these things, because at the end of the day, what we're really saying is they don't have confidence in us, right? Because we'll spend the money, or they won't see the value of the money they get. So in order to get the project, we had to do that on the schools, when we did all the school bonds some years ago to make sure the schools were designated and the like. I don't say, you know, I'm very, very concerned about it, because I see where we're coming to, and I think we're kind of coming to the crunch time when you look at how all these things interrelated. Somehow we've got to figure out a better way to earn the confidence of the public and then do intelligent public policy, because we're at a point now where literally this year we were going to face a surplus and yet have a deficit, because we've put in so many restrictions on everything and how to deal with it. So I just think that we're going to need to think through the long term. And I just want to share one thought I have with you, because I supported your measure before on the VLF, and I want to say that because, you know, it is certainly a personal property tax. It's the firestorm started in Virginia, and it was picked up by Tom McClintock, who picked it up here, and we basically dramatically reduced it. We put a trigger if the economy goes down, the VLF went up, and then Schwarzenegger blew up all the boxes, which if you look at the analysis, it was a mistake. But the VLF is not regressive. If you drive a Rolls Royce, your vehicle license fee is more expensive than if you drive a $300 jalopy, right? The idea of a $35 fee is the same person with a $500 car versus a $500,000 car pays the same fee. And so as we begin to look at our public policy, we balance out this issue. And I agree, I think the VLF is explosive for a bunch of other reasons, as do I think certain these other fees are explosive at a time when people are reacting the way they are. So look, I applaud your ability to, you're kind of thinking around to figure out how to solve the problem, and your earnestness in terms of trying to deal with it. I only raise this because I want to raise the level of discussions in these committees and on the floor and any chance I can to try to think longer term and to worry about the unintended consequences of all of these things. And so I only share that with you because I do think there's a lot of value to this. I understand it. But I just am concerned about the unintended consequences as we move down the road 10 and 15 years, and we have to be able to compete, and we're going to have tied ourselves into too many knots. Okay. Thank you.
Other comments? And Senator Huff, I'd like to ask you if we can retain our discussion for future meeting. We're having a meeting next week. We continue to work together on your amendment.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Constitutional amendment.
Just a comment.
Senator Berryhill,
well, I'd like to applaud Senator Huff for bringing this discussion forward, and I concur with Senator Hertzberg. I think that a lot of this stuff's happening because the public doesn't trust us, and as well they probably shouldn't, because there's been many things that we have passed over the last, 10, 15 years that we have promised that this money was going to go to specific projects, and in this case, we're talking about roads. And the first time that we get in trouble, that's the first money that's borrowed. So what happens is the money doesn't go to roads, that doesn't go to maintenance. Our roads are now, because of that, our roads are some of the worst in the country, and that's why we've kind of come to this, your bill today, and why we're here. So I think that this discussion is a very important one to have. I think some guarantees need to be there to gain the public's confidence that these monies, when and if we move them forward, are actually going to make it to what we say they're going to, and that would be to road maintenance. So with that, hopefully we can all come to consensus when this is all said and done and move this thing forward for the state of California.
Okay, thank you. Other comments from other senators? Senator Gaines, please.
Yeah, I just want to thank Senator Huff for bringing this issue forward. Really relaying to what Senator Berryhill said too, is that when we take a look at $5 billion that have been diverted that should have been used for highway construction, that's we've dug ourselves in a hole and we've got to get out of it. And so I know we're not voting today, but we'll have an opportunity, I think, for further discussion, and want to applaud you for bringing this issue forward, and we'll go from there. All right.
Okay, Senator Bates, please.
Add my thank you. I didn't want you to think I wasn't appreciative. So I do to all the other comments, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Voter confidence, key issue now and certainly in 2016. Really important, you guys.
You know, when I became a legislator, Senator Huff he sat in front of me at the assembly, so got to know each other in various ways. We were in horrible shape financially, and there was a lot of messy, terrible fiscal, messy kind of things done both before I became a legislator and then subsequent in terms of solving the horrible budget situations, borrowing money, all those, the wall of debt the governor talks about. And then we've been working hard to get rid of that and solve those problems. And I think our attitude now should be, you know, we're going to clean up the messes, but we got to move forward. And we can't let the future generations have served this, instead of a wall of debt, some kind of wall of crumbling infrastructure, okay? Cost, and we can't, and that's why I think the locking the money in to have a long-range infrastructure repair, the money should be locked in for that purpose for the future generations, so we don't dump the cost of horribly unmaintained infrastructure on the future generations. So that's why the constitutional amendment is a element of preserving the funds for the right purpose. And so I'm going to work with Senator Huff on this, and we'll try to achieve some kind of consensus on it. Because I think it's important. It's a piece of the puzzle, including the other discussion we had earlier today about making everything more efficient, the Inspector General, Senator Runner's bill, all the bills that we put together on this as one package. Senator Allen, and I have to remind you, I'm going to get kicked out of here by Senator Hernandez.
I just wanted to say that I love you
still have to present my bill after all.
I love you too, Senator Huff. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will turn over again to
We should haze him.